You might think you're just having a bad day. Maybe you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or things aren't going your way. But what if I told you it could be something more? Something invisible, yet powerful enough to affect every aspect of your life? That's right. We're talking about negative energy. It's all around us, and it might be the real reason behind your struggles. But don't worry, because in this video, we're going to uncover the secret signs that reveal when negative energy is lurking nearby. By the end, you'll have the knowledge to spot these signs and take back control of your life. Now, you might be wondering, why should I care about negative energy? Well, let me tell you, it's not just some New Age concept or spiritual mumbo-jumbo. Negative energy is very real, and it can have a huge impact on your daily life. Imagine going through your day feeling drained, irritable, and like nothing's going right. You might blame it on lack of sleep, stress, or just bad luck. But what if it's actually negative energy weighing you down? Here's the thing. If you don't learn to spot negative energy, it can wreak havoc on your life without you even realizing it. It's like having a tiny leak in your roof. At first, you might not notice it. But over time, that small leak can cause serious damage to your home. Negative energy works the same way. If left unchecked, it can slowly but surely affect your mood, your health, and even your relationships. Think about it. Have you ever been around someone who always seems to bring you down? Or walked into a room and instantly felt uncomfortable for no apparent reason? That's negative energy at work. And if you can't recognize it, you can't protect yourself from it. But here's the good news. Once you know how to spot negative energy, you've already won half the battle. It's like having a superpower. You'll be able to identify what's really causing your bad days, and more importantly, you'll be able to do something about it. Learning to recognize negative energy is your first step towards creating a more positive, fulfilling life. Imagine being able to walk into any situation and immediately sense the energy around you. You'd be able to avoid toxic people, steer clear of places that drain you, and surround yourself with positivity instead. That's the kind of power you'll have once you finish watching this video. You'll be equipped with the knowledge to take control of the energy in your life. And trust me, it's a game changer. So, are you ready to unlock this hidden knowledge? Are you prepared to see the world in a whole new way? Great, because we're about to dive deep into the world of energy and spirituality. Don't worry if you're new to all this. I'll explain everything in simple terms that anyone can understand. By the end of this video, you'll be an expert at spotting negative energy, and you'll have the tools to protect yourself from its harmful effects. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to spot negative energy, let's take a moment to understand what it actually is. You see, everything in the universe is made up of energy. That includes you, me, the device you're watching this on, and even the air around us. This energy can be positive or negative, and it's constantly flowing and changing. Negative energy is exactly what it sounds like. It's energy that carries a negative, heavy, or unpleasant vibe. It's the kind of energy that makes you feel bad, drains your enthusiasm, or brings you down. But here's the thing. Negative energy isn't always obvious. It can be subtle, sneaking into your life without you even noticing. So where does this negative energy come from? Well, it can come from all sorts of places. People are one of the biggest sources of energy, both positive and negative. You know that friend who always seems to cheer you up? They're radiating positive energy. On the flip side, that coworker who's always complaining and bringing down the mood? Yep, they're a source of negative energy. But it's not just people. Places can hold negative energy too. Have you ever walked into a room and felt instantly uncomfortable, even though nothing was visibly wrong? That room might be harboring negative energy from past events or emotions. Even objects can carry negative energy. That's why some people feel uneasy around certain antiques or secondhand items. Situations can also generate negative energy. Arguments, stress, fear, and anger all create negative energy that can linger long after the situation has passed. Think about how the atmosphere in a room feels tense after a heated argument, even when everyone's calmed down. That's residual negative energy you're feeling. Now here's where it gets really interesting. This negative energy doesn't just sit there doing nothing. It interacts with your own energy field, and that's where the problems start. When you're surrounded by negative energy, it can affect you in all sorts of ways. It might make you feel tired, cranky, or sad for no apparent reason. It can even influence your thoughts, making you more prone to negative thinking. But don't worry. Being affected by negative energy doesn't mean you're weak or overly sensitive. It's a normal human experience. We're all energy beings after all, and we're constantly interacting with the energy around us. The key is learning to recognize when negative energy is affecting you, so you can take steps to protect yourself. Understanding what negative energy is and where it comes from is the first step in learning to deal with it. It's like learning about germs. Once you know they exist and how they spread, you can take steps to avoid getting sick. The same goes for negative energy. Once you understand it, you can start to recognize its presence in your life and take action to protect yourself. In the next part of this video, we're going to dive into the specific signs that indicate negative energy is around you. These signs might surprise you. Some of them are things you've probably experienced before, but never knew the reason behind. Get ready to have your eyes open to a whole new way of looking at the world around you. Remember, knowledge is power. And the knowledge you're about to gain, it's going to empower you to take control of the energy in your life like never before. So let's dive in and discover how to spot that sneaky negative energy. Signs of negative energy. Now that we understand what negative energy is and where it comes from, let's dive into the signs that can help you spot it. Remember, these signs might seem ordinary at first glance, but when you start paying attention, you'll realize they're actually clues pointing to something deeper. Let's start with one of the most common signs: feeling drained. Have you ever left a conversation or a place feeling completely wiped out, even though you weren't doing anything physically tiring? That's a classic sign of negative energy at work. It's like there's an invisible energy vampire sucking away your vitality. Here's what it might look like in real life. Imagine you're chatting with a friend. The conversation isn't particularly stressful or intense, but by the end of it, you feel exhausted. Your shoulders are heavy, your mind feels foggy, and all you want to do is take a nap. That's negative energy in action. Or maybe you've experienced this at work. You walk into a meeting feeling energized and ready to tackle the day. But as soon as you step into the conference room, you feel your energy plummet. By the time the meeting's over, you're struggling to keep your eyes open. Sound familiar? This draining effect isn't just in your head. Negative energy can actually interfere with your body's energy field, causing a very real sense of fatigue. It's like trying to run a marathon while carrying a heavy backpack. It takes more effort to do even simple tasks. Now here's the tricky part. This energy drain doesn't always happen instantly. Sometimes it's a slow, gradual process that you might not notice right away. You might find yourself feeling more tired than usual over days or weeks, especially after spending time in certain places or with certain people. For example, you might notice that every time you visit a particular friend, you come home feeling exhausted. Or maybe there's a specific room in your house where you always seem to feel sleepy, even if you've had plenty of rest. Pay attention to these patterns. If you consistently feel drained in certain situations or around certain people, it's a big clue that negative energy might be at play. Remember, your body is smart. It's trying to tell you something important through these feelings of fatigue. The good news is, once you recognize this sign, you can start taking steps to protect your energy. This might mean limiting time with energy-draining people, clearing the energy in certain spaces, or learning techniques to shield your own energy field. But we'll get into all that later. For now, just focus on noticing when and where you feel drained. It's the first step in taking control of the energy around you. Now, let's move on to our second sign of negative energy: sudden mood changes. This is a big one, and it can be pretty unsettling when you first start noticing it. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly felt angry or sad for no apparent reason? Or maybe you were having a great day, but as soon as you stepped into your office, your mood took a nosedive. These sudden shifts in how you feel can be a clear sign that you've walked into a pocket of negative energy. Here's how it works. Negative energy can affect your emotions directly. It's like walking through an invisible cloud of bad vibes. You can't see it, but you sure can feel it. And just like a rain cloud can dampen your clothes, this cloud of negative energy can dampen your mood. Let's look at an example. Imagine you're heading to a friend's house for dinner. You're in a great mood, looking forward to good food and company. But as soon as you walk through their front door, you feel a wave of irritation wash over you. You might find yourself snapping at your friend or feeling annoyed by things that wouldn't usually bother you. Or maybe you've experienced this at home. You have a favorite spot on the couch where you always sit to relax. But one day, you sit down and suddenly feel overwhelmed with sadness. It's not because of anything that's happened. The feeling seems to come out of nowhere. These sudden mood changes often happen in places where negative events have occurred. Arguments, stress, or prolonged periods of negativity can leave a kind of emotional residue in a space. When you enter that space, you pick up on that residue, and it affects your mood. For instance, if there's been a lot of arguing in a particular room of your house, you might notice that you tend to feel irritable whenever you're in that room, even when you're alone. Or if someone was very stressed or depressed in a certain place, you might feel a wave of anxiety or sadness when you enter that area. The key here is to pay attention to how your mood changes in different environments. If you notice that you consistently feel negative emotions in certain places, it's a strong indication that there's negative energy present. Now, it's important to note that not all mood changes are due to negative energy. We all have natural fluctuations in our emotions throughout the day. But when the change is sudden, intense, and seems to be tied to a specific place or person, that's when you should start considering negative energy as a possible cause. Think of your emotions as a kind of energy detector. They're giving you valuable information about the world around you. By paying attention to these emotional shifts, you're tapping into a natural ability to sense the energy of your environment. And remember, recognizing these mood changes is just the first step. Once you can identify when and where negative energy is affecting your mood, you can start taking steps to protect yourself and even clear that energy. But we'll get to that later in the video. Now let's move on to our third sign of negative energy, physical discomfort. This might surprise you, but negative energy doesn't just affect your mood and energy levels. It can actually cause physical symptoms too. Think of your body as a finely tuned instrument that's constantly picking up on the energy around you. When it detects negative energy, it might try to alert you through physical sensations. It's like your body's own early warning system. One of the most common ways this shows up is through unexplained aches and pains. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly developed a headache? Or maybe you've noticed that your shoulders always tense up when you're around a certain person. These could be signs that your body is reacting to negative energy in your environment. Let's look at some examples. Maybe you have a coworker who always seems to be in a bad mood. Whenever you have to work closely with them, you notice that you develop a pain in your neck or a tight feeling in your chest. Or perhaps there's a certain place, maybe a shop or a friend's house, where you always seem to get a stomach ache even though you haven't eaten anything unusual. A slight headache or pressure in your forehead, a feeling of heaviness in your chest, tightness in your throat, an upset stomach or nausea, sudden fatigue or weakness, dizziness or lightheadedness, tingling sensations, especially in your hands or feet. Now, it's important to note that these symptoms can have many causes, and you should always consult with a healthcare professional if you're experiencing persistent physical discomfort. But if you notice that these symptoms tend to occur in specific places or around specific people, negative energy could be a factor. The key to identifying negative energy through physical discomfort is to look for patterns. Does your headache always start when you enter a particular room? Do you always feel nauseous around a certain person? These patterns are clues that your body is reacting to something in your environment. It's also worth paying attention to how quickly these symptoms appear and disappear. If you develop a headache as soon as you enter a place, but it goes away shortly after you leave, that's a strong indication that something in that environment was affecting you. Learning to listen to these physical signals is a powerful tool in recognizing negative energy. Your body has an innate wisdom that can pick up on things your conscious mind might miss. By tuning into these physical sensations, you're tapping into a natural early warning system. And here's the really interesting part. As you become more aware of these physical reactions, you might find that they become more pronounced. It's not that you're suddenly more sensitive to negative energy. Rather, you're becoming more attuned to what your body has been trying to tell you all along. Remember, your body is on your side. It wants to keep you safe and healthy. When it sends you these physical signals, it's trying to alert you to something important. By paying attention to these signs, you're honoring your body's wisdom and taking an important step in protecting yourself from negative energy. In the next section, we'll explore another surprising way that negative energy can manifest in your life. Get ready to learn about the connection between negative energy and what we often dismiss as simple bad luck. Have you ever had one of those days where everything seems to go wrong? You oversleep, spill coffee on your shirt, get stuck in traffic, and then your computer crashes just as you're about to finish an important project. Most people would chalk this up to just one of those days. But what if I told you that a string of bad luck could actually be a sign of negative energy at work? Negative energy doesn't just affect your mood or your body. It can influence the events in your life too. It's like it creates a kind of ripple effect, causing small misfortunes to pile up one after another. This is what we often call bad luck, but it's really the manifestation of negative energy in your external world. Let's look at an example. Maybe you've noticed that every time you visit a certain friend's house, something goes wrong. You trip on the doorstep, or you break a glass, or your car won't start when it's time to leave. Individually, these events might seem like random accidents, but when they keep happening in the same place or around the same person, it's a sign that negative energy might be at play. Or perhaps you've experienced this in a particular area of your life. Maybe your love life has hit a rough patch and suddenly it seems like every date is a disaster. Or your finances take a turn for the worse with unexpected bills and expenses popping up left and right. When bad luck seems to cluster around a specific aspect of your life, it's worth considering whether negative energy is involved. The tricky thing about this sign is that it's easy to dismiss. We're taught to think of luck as random, so we often don't look for patterns in our misfortunes. But when you start paying attention, you might be surprised at what you notice. For instance, you might realize that you always seem to have tech problems when you're working on a particular project. Or maybe you notice that your plants always die when you put them in a certain room, no matter how well you care for them. These patterns of bad luck are often subtle signs of negative energy at work. The good news is that once you recognize this pattern, you can start to break the cycle. By identifying the source of the negative energy, whether it's a place, a person, or a situation, you can take steps to protect yourself and change the energy dynamics. And here's something really interesting. Just becoming aware of this pattern can sometimes be enough to start shifting things. It's like shining a light into a dark corner. The darkness starts to recede as soon as you focus your attention on it. Remember, what we call luck is often just energy in motion. By learning to recognize and manage the energy around you, you can start to create your own luck, the good kind. Now we come to one of the most powerful tools you have for detecting negative energy, your intuition. Some people call it a gut feeling or a sixth sense. Whatever name you give it, intuition is your inner voice that speaks up when something isn't quite right. Your intuition is like a built-in energy detector. It's constantly scanning your environment, picking up on subtle cues that your conscious mind might miss. When it comes to negative energy, your intuition often speaks up before you notice any other signs. This might manifest as a feeling of unease when you enter a certain place. You can't put your finger on why, but something just feels off. Or maybe you meet someone new, and despite their friendly demeanor, you feel a sense of discomfort or mistrust. Let's look at some examples. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt like you wanted to leave, even though everything looked normal? Or maybe you've picked up an object in a store and felt a sudden urge to put it back down. These are examples of your intuition alerting you to negative energy. The challenge with intuition is that it often communicates in very subtle ways. It's not usually a loud, clear voice in your head. Instead, it might be a fleeting thought that something isn't right, a sudden feeling of discomfort or unease, a desire to leave a place or situation quickly, an inexplicable aversion to a person or object, a sense of heaviness or darkness in a particular space. The key is learning to pay attention to these subtle signals. In our busy, noisy world, it's easy to brush aside these quiet nudges from our intuition. But when it comes to detecting negative energy, your intuition is one of your most valuable tools. Many of us have been taught to rely solely on logic and dismiss our irrational feelings. But when it comes to energy, intuition is often more accurate than logical reasoning. Energy operates on a level that our rational minds can't always access, but our intuition can tap into it directly. Learning to trust your intuition takes practice. Start by simply noticing these gut feelings when they arise. Don't try to analyze them or talk yourself out of them. Just acknowledge them and see if you can gather more information. Over time, as you pay more attention to your intuition, you might find that these feelings become clearer and easier to interpret. You're not developing a new skill. You're simply tuning into an ability you've always had. Now that we've explored the signs of negative energy, you might be wondering, what can I do about it? While we won't go into deep detail here, that's a topic for another video, I want to give you a few quick tips to get started. Just being aware of negative energy is a powerful first step. By recognizing its presence, you're already reducing its impact on you. There are many ways to cleanse the energy in a space. Some people use sage smudging, while others prefer salt lamps or crystals. Find a method that resonates with you. Learn techniques to shield your own energy field. This might include visualization exercises, wearing protective crystals, or practicing grounding techniques. If you've identified a person or place that consistently exposes you to negative energy, it's okay to limit your interaction with them. Focus on bringing more positive energy into your life through gratitude practices, positive affirmations, and surrounding yourself with uplifting people and environments. Remember, dealing with negative energy is a skill that you can develop over time. Don't get discouraged if you don't master it overnight. Every small step you take to recognize and manage the energy around you is a step towards a more positive, balanced life. As we wrap up our exploration of how to know if there's negative energy around you, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. We've discovered that negative energy isn't just some vague concept. It's a very real force that can impact every aspect of our lives, from our mood and physical well-being to the events that unfold around us. We've explored 5 key signs that can help you detect negative energy. Feeling unusually drained or tired, experiencing sudden mood changes, noticing unexplained physical discomfort, encountering strings of bad luck or mishaps, sensing unease or discomfort through your intuition. By learning to recognize these signs, you've taken the first step towards becoming an energy master. You're no longer at the mercy of invisible forces you can't understand. Instead, you're developing the ability to read the energy around you and make informed decisions about how to interact with it. Remember, this isn't about becoming paranoid or seeing negative energy everywhere. It's about developing a balanced awareness that allows you to navigate your world more effectively. Sometimes, what seems like negative energy might just be a challenging situation that's helping you grow. The key is to stay open, curious, and willing to learn. As you move forward, I encourage you to practice tuning into the energy around you. Pay attention to how you feel in different environments and around different people. Notice patterns in your mood, your physical sensations, and the events in your life. The more you practice, the more natural it will become. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. Many people are waking up to the reality of energy and how it affects our lives. Don't be afraid to share your experiences and learn from others. Together, we can create a more positive, energetically aware world. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of negative energy. I hope you feel empowered with new knowledge and tools to enhance your life. Remember, you have the power to shape the energy around you. Use it wisely and watch as your world transforms. Stay tuned for more videos where we'll dive deeper into techniques for clearing negative energy, protecting your own energy field, and cultivating more positivity in your life. Until then, stay aware, stay positive, and trust in your own inner wisdom. You've got this.